What up? What up? What up, everybody? Thank you for joining us for another one of our convos. Joining us today is Pure Ecstasy. Um, you know, rising pop artist. We'll talk about that. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so first and foremost, I said pop artist because I didn't really know how you kind of put yourself genre-wise, label-wise. Like, how would you kind of describe your music?
It honestly depends when I'm like talking about certain songs, which is kind of weird. My older stuff is a little bit darker, and I used to go by dark pop or
Yeah.
something kind of like that. But now with like bringing in brighter tones, I've been saying more alt pop or indie pop. But I mean, they all kind of live in the same neighborhood, so you can't really go wrong with any of them.
Okay. Yeah, it's become, increasingly harder for a lot of artists these days to kind of describe their sound,
Yeah,
considering, everything's such a mix of everything these days.
yeah, absolutely.
So before we get into, your new music, new project, everything you've had this year, can you kind of tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. So since I was 15, a long, long time ago, I've been a drummer. I've been working on drums more than half of my life. And that was kind of like the dream for as long as I could remember. And then COVID hit, and I wasn't even living with my drum kit anymore. I was in a little tiny apartment in Jersey City. Like I didn't have my drums with me, and I had a guitar
Uh,
and I had a lot of stuff to write about at that point. So I just kind of picked up Pure Ecstasy. Gosh, maybe almost 2 years ago. 2 years ago, maybe.
mhm.
Um, so it's still a fairly new journey, but I've been doing this for a while as a drummer. So that's something a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. So you were a drummer. Were you like playing in bands before you did your solo thing?
Yeah, that was my entire life. I've been in a lot of different bands, none of which you would probably have heard of, but my first like touring band, we were called Car Party, and we got to do like a tour with Every Avenue and Set It Off and a bunch of those like iconic bands, like in the AP era.
Mhm.
Uh, and then more recently, I was in a band called X Nations that did a lot of 80s pop.
Okay.
And if you listen to that, I think a lot of Pure Ecstasy would make sense.
Okay. All right. So, as a drummer, you're kind of like more in the background per se of
Yeah.
the band. So, kind of how was that switch to you being, you're the leading person?
Oh, it's so weird. It's still so weird. My mom saw me for the first time as Pure Ecstasy back in July, and she even said that was so weird. Um, I even said it on stage because it was like people that I grew up with, and it's very strange for them to see me up there when they were just happy enough when the singer would move out of the way so they could see me
Catch a
play.
glimpse of you.
Yeah, like catch a glimpse back there in the dark. So that's definitely been interesting. That was definitely a safer space, but I missed out on connecting with the crowd, and that's been my favorite thing to do so far. Before I was just, headphones locked in, keeping everything on time.
Yeah.
I didn't get to hear the crowd, like everything was, muffled out. So
Yeah.
I didn't get to speak with them and feel, that energy between like the performer and the audience. So it hits different.
I can bet. So, you grew up in Kansas City,
Baltimore, actually.
Baltimore. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Then when I
kind of
get
a roundabout story.
okay.
I'm based in Kansas City now. I've been here for 2 years, but before that, I was in Baltimore, Maryland, and then a tiny piece in the middle, I was in the New York City area. So just moved.
Okay. So, how would you say kind of like where'd you grow up kind of influence you music wise?
Um, Growing up in Baltimore when like all of those little church shows started and local bands were kind of becoming a thing was kind of like a golden era there for me. That's kind of what started my like pop punk kind of
Hmm.
loved like way back in the day. So I would say that influenced me a lot because I saw bands like All Time Low go from the church to, arenas, and it's like, whoa, somebody that I grew up with did that.
Yeah.
And like watching them kind of like inspired my band to, follow footsteps in a way.
Okay. So how would you say like, or who would you say were some of like your biggest music influences when you were younger?
Silver Sun pickups a lot. Radiohead. I went through a little phase there where I think I was just trying to listen to every little genre, and I had the time back then to research music, so that was really cool. But I'm trying to think of like main influences. Metric would be one. Like they've been around like ever now.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. And you said you started in music when you were 15. That's when you kind of started picking up drumming.
Yeah.
All right. What kind of like drew you to the drums in particular? Like what made you want to just hop into it?
I honestly don't know. I remember I asked my parents for a drum kit when I was 5, and they avoided that for a very long time. It's just something I've always have been drawn to, just music in general. They got me a guitar instead. They got me a Strat with no amp because they didn't want to hear their 5-year-old trying to beat around on an instrument.
Can't really blame them, kids are loud enough already.
I definitely don't. I mean, they gave in finally at 15, and that was hard.
So like, you said you've been in music through 15, which I was going to ask because I was like, looking at your music as Pure Ecstasy, I was like, oh, you started relatively recently. 2021 was like your first release, right?
Yeah.
How was that release? How was the process of like putting out your first kind of solo stuff?
It was terrifying. Up until that point, I had never written a song on my own, especially not on a guitar. I was used to beats and doing synth and stuff like that. So it's been like a whole different animal. It was a lot of learning how to trust myself because I wasn't sure if it was going to be good enough or if people would like it. I'm like, well, if I like it, maybe other people will. Like, I just need to like follow it and see if it does anything. And then it surprisingly started to. So that's just been crazy.
So you said you kind of picked up you had to pick up the songwriting duties. So kind of how was like your creative process for you when you first started your own songwriting from like your own personal perspective and everything?
At first I thought that starting on drums would be the easiest way because it was, comfort and I could build a structure off of that. And that really did not work, to be honest. So I started playing more keyboard and then adding the drums in and kind of building the movement of the song. And then I would just loop it forever and try and come up with lyrics. And that was hard because I hated everything for a while. Like, this is awful. So that part's gotten a little bit easier. Now I kind of write everything on my acoustic guitar.
Okay. Have you felt like your confidence in songwriting and finding your voice has just grown over time?
Absolutely. I was scared to sing in front of my wife before, like, because she's such a critic. She'll be like, "Oh, you need to do this more. You sound like you're trying too hard," and she'll always have something to say.
Yeah.
So, I love you, babe. Thank you. I was like nervous, and then when I got a little bit more confident, she noticed and started hyping me up, and then other people started to notice. So it kind of starts at home. But yeah, the confidence is definitely growing.
So is that kind of how you kind of pick your songs? Does that like pass the wife test first?
Absolutely. If she tells me, like, her thing lately has been, that sounds like the Home Depot beat. She's like, everything I was playing sounded like the dun 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 dun. And that's when I realized maybe I was done writing for a little while and I needed to recharge because everything was coming out as the Home Depot beat.
Okay. And your first like project that you put out was Nobody's Home, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you kind of tell us like what was your process between like behind putting your first full project together?
Yeah. That one started the winter where I was moving from Jersey City to Kansas City. It was the winter and we were back and forth a lot looking at places. And I pulled out my father-in-law's guitar and I just started writing Ghost. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know what chords I was playing. So
No.
I like figured out where I liked everything. And then I looked up like the chord sheets or put a tuner on to see what I was playing. And I built the song little by little that way, and then translated everything to synth and added a ton of drums and layers and things like that to like give it body.
Mm.
And that's kind of how everything started on that EP. I was working in a music store and I would like sit there and play keys during the day and like film it. That's how Matches started. So all of those have like weird little memories to them because they all were like such a, oh my God, I wrote this thing, like I pulled this out of the air, listen to this thing I wrote, because I'd never done it before.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, you know, I like the project a lot. I think you said Ghost was the first single, right? And I mean, I can see the numbers. It looked like it caught a lot of traction for you.
Yeah, that was kind of like the beginning of everything. And like a couple weeks after I put that out, I was asked to play Pride and I was on the main stage and that was terrifying. I had never sang in front of a crowd before or anything.
Yeah.
Um, so Ghost started all of that. So
Okay.
just,
So kind of coming back to some other things, I've checked out like your socials and everything. You have like a really good presence on there, and I noticed that you have like really cool merch, really cool like promo and stuff like that. I noticed you had like a Crane Brewing collab. Kind of how did that come about?
I don't know how I thought of that. I was drinking a beer and I was like, it would be really cool. Talking to my wife, I was like, I should do a beer for when I release new music, like do a collab, like music that you can drink to, and vice versa. Like in Kansas City, like it's just breweries everywhere. Like
Yeah,
it's a big thing. And I was like, what better way to get people interested in music than to have alcohol?
yeah,
Do That's Kansas City. Um, that was crazy. We sold out of all the beer the night that it released. Like all the cans were gone.
oh,
It
that's
was
awesome.
I wish I still had some of it. It was like a cinnamon blood orange kind of, just like a fruity beer.
Yeah, it was
But
like called what Hazy Blood Orange IPA or something like that.
yeah. Oh, it was good.
Yeah, I saw it and I was immediately I was like, oh, that's fucking brilliant. Like, why don't more people do it? Like, and you also recently you also had another big moment in your career. You played Dinah Shore,
Oh yeah, the Dinah.
Dinah Shore.
Um,
Yeah,
no, it's totally fine. That was a childhood dream come true. Like playing that was crazy. There was an episode of The L Word that's like filmed there, and it's just been like an iconic thing.
so kind of how did that come about for you?
I was feeling brave and I emailed Mariah, the founder of Dinah Shore, and I, introduced myself and, said I'd love to play. And she said, I have the perfect thing for you. It's called the Emerging Artist Contest. And if you pass their like panel of judges, then you get put into the voting round. And I was lucky and got voted in. Like I won the contest. And I got to play it and it still doesn't feel real.
Yeah, I think you got our vote for sure. We wanted to help you out there, and then kind of how was your experience? Performing there.
It was just crazy. Like I was on the stage and I didn't feel like I was on the stage. It was, I don't know. I can't think of another word for it. I keep saying it was crazy, but that's really how it felt. Everyone was so kind and easy to work with. And Margaritaville was just, they had robes. That was the highlight for us.
Robes.
Robes.
Okay.
More hotels should do it. I'm just saying.
And how long was your stay there?
We were only there for 2 days, but it was coming off of the end of like a little California tour that I'd played LA and San Diego before. So we were partied out by the time we actually skipped the last party that we could have gone to and went to the art museum. We're like, let's just chill today before we fly out.
So you also have a new EP coming out. I think what, 3 days, the 18th.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, stress.
It's called Shed My Skin.
Yeah.
First, kind of what's like the meaning behind the title?
Yeah, so it meant a lot of things. It was kind of like a growing period for me, and just shifting the way that I'm trying to think of where I'm going to lead, so I don't run off on a tangent. It's really like growth and trying to be better for yourself than being better for someone else. So in the chorus, you're going to hear like, I shed my skin for you. And you're going to think it's about a significant other or something like that. But it's actually about a conversation with yourself about being better and showing up more for yourself.
Okay, that's cool. You've released, I think, what, 2, 3 singles from there already?
Yeah. So it's really just this last song, but I wanted to do it big. This is like my favorite song I've ever written, I think.
Okay. And that's gonna come out on the day of the release.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be out this Friday.
Okay. So kind of like you said, it's also about growth. So how has your music, your creative process, has it grown over, the past year or so since you first started putting out stuff?
I think confidence has been the biggest thing, honestly, just trying to push myself a little bit further out of my comfort zone. I'm very comfortable in like low kind of like softer registers. And I actually wanted to like push myself and add more dynamic in, I think has been another big thing, a lot more dynamic, getting comfortable on guitar. All of that has just, I think, shifted my songwriting for the better.
Okay, cool. And how's the response been to the songs you put out so far?
Surprisingly good. It's like I don't want to jinx it, but I haven't gotten any hate on it yet, and pretty decent opportunities keep happening, and that's the reassurance. Like, okay, what you're doing doesn't suck. They get what you're trying to do, so just keep doing what you're doing, and that's all I can do.
Well, we're definitely excited to hear the full thing when it comes out this Friday. You've had a busy year, 2022. So do you have any future goals, any expectations for 2023?
Well, I've already booked a couple East Coast things for next year already, so that will be announced soon. I'm really hoping to do more shows next year, especially in mid-America. I'm like centralized right here. I need to do like Chicago and Austin, stuff like that. So just kind of expanding a little bit more show-wise.
Okay. And anything else you want to talk about? Any upcoming, music outside of Shed My Skin? Just working?
Yeah, honestly, right now it's just I started a new job, like my day job kind of thing. So I've just been kind of getting readjusted. It's weird having like a creative job during the day now because I get like kind of drained at night. So I'm trying to learn that balance and know when I'm pushing myself to write or if I'm actually in a creative space.
Inspired. Yeah.
So I've just been kind of just chilling on Shed My Skin for now. Working on how I'm going to play that stuff live next year has kind of been my focus.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for, talking about your journey to this point. Congrats on the music and your big year you've had so far.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully get to hear more of you in the future and maybe get to speak to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. Catch you guys next time.
Use of marijuana.